What's up, you guys? So a lot of people may be at the point of their points and rewards journey, whether it's Aeroplan points or MR points. They have a bunch of points, they don't know what to do with it. Or you may be even at the beginning of your points and rewards journey, just starting to collect these points. In today's video, I want to introduce you to someone who half the population loves and half the population hates. This mysterious person goes by the name of Aeroplan. So why is that a travel rewards program can be loved by half the population and deemed as probably one of the best travel rewards program, if not the best here in Canada, and despised by the other half, saying how on earth did all my miles expire? You know, how does these airlines have the audacity to ask me for these fuel surcharges for the miles I saved up in 20 years buying from supermarkets? This can all be summarized in one word: complication. Aeroplan points are complicated, and it's like a power tool. When used correctly, you can make it do incredible things like renovating a home, but when used incorrectly, you might even cut off your own finger. In this video, I will be decoding this complicated power tool for you, and by the end of this video, you will understand how much is each Aeroplan point worth, and also what is a good redemption, what is not a good redemption, what redemptions to avoid, and lastly, we're going to cover some of the examples where how the pros use their points. So make sure to watch this video until the end, because it's going to be the difference between you booking one business class flight or 3. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tony, and on this channel we talk about personal finance every single week. So if you want to see more, make sure you subscribe right over there, and also just hit like for your boy out here. With that out of the way, let's cue the intro. What a time to be talking about Aeroplan. Just as I posted my last video, they are back with yet another point sale. Limited time, you're able to now buy Aeroplan points, and the bare minimum is going to be 250,000 points at a 75% ratio, 75% bonus ratio, because anything lower wouldn't be worth it. And so what that means is, in order for this to be worth it, you were to spend $7,500 or more for about 500,000 points at a 1.7 cent per point ratio. Why would anyone in the right mind spend over $7,500 on Aeroplan points? Well, this is because Aeroplan points are actually, when used correctly, they're actually extremely valuable. Aeroplan points are also not the hardest to earn here in Canada, with their two main biggest partners, CIBC and TD, housing their co-branded credit cards with generous sign-up bonuses. Also, American Express being able to transfer MR points at a 1-to-1 ratio. Whether it's from friends or online, whenever I hear points, the second thing that usually comes out is how much is each point worth? Well, in terms of Aeroplan, there's no set value in terms of points, and I realize that's probably not the answer you wanted and they want to hear as well, but I usually don't want to spend any points less than a value of 2 cents per point. So whenever something is less than 2 cents per point, I'm just going to choose to pay cash or other alternatives instead. Whenever you look at a redemption, you can also use this as an anchor. Ask yourself, if I do this, is it going to be more than 2 cents per point, or is it going to be less? If it's less and you don't have that much point to begin with, it might be better to just preserve your points for a bigger redemption. To first understand the redemptions, let's first look at the Aeroplan chart. The most commonly used way of your points is probably a round trip from Canada and the continental US to the Canada and the continental US, a long haul flight. Redemption like this, we can see according to the chart, it's gonna cost us 25,000 Aeroplan points. But not all flights are created equal. So you see, a long haul flight from, say, Vancouver to Toronto, it's gonna cost you 25,000 points round trip. And the same long haul from Vancouver to, say, Orlando, Florida is also going to cost you 25,000 points round trip. Regular prices, big difference. To think of Aeroplan as the polar opposite to cashback. Cashback is probably the most comprehensive thing you can ever find from a credit card rewards program. Meaning, if I spend $100 and I'm getting 2% cash back, I'm getting $2 back. But the same exact thing is its drawback. The value is set. I'm not getting 1 cent more, I'm not getting 1 cent less. Aeroplan, on the other hand, knowing its boundaries and pushing its limits, you're able to book trips that you will never be able to book with cash in a million years. You see, that comes with understanding the system, and hence why millions upon millions of Aeroplan points expire every single year. Warren Buffett said it best, #1 rule of investing is to never lose money. Here in the points and miles game, the #1 rule is never lose points. I really shouldn't have to say this, but after 12 months of inactivity, your Aeroplan points will expire. So in 12 months, literally just buy a cup of coffee and swipe your Aeroplan card or something, like earn some Aeroplan points. Second rule is preventing yourself from paying these high fees. You see, you're able to redeem Aeroplan points for Star Alliance partners and select airline partners. But do you remember your first grade teacher telling you,
just because you can do something doesn't mean you should?
Well, the same wise words appear over here. I can tell you when you redeem your Aeroplan points, you only had to pay points. However, I would be lying, so when you redeem these points, you do have to also pay taxes and fees, and some of these airlines charges you a ridiculous amount of fees. This is where they kind of shank you for your money out here. Other airlines make you only pay small amount of fees along with taxes. Of course, some of these airlines you can also have status and have the option to get these fees waived. Of these high fees, we should avoid these airlines at all costs that charge you a very high fee, and only book with airlines that charge you a low fee or no fee. In the back of your head, we move on to the next rule, mastering the point and miles chart. Chart is like Aeroplan's bread and butter and the holy grail of redemptions. Everything we're going to be talking about pretty much builds off this chart. Just like the Vancouver to Toronto versus Vancouver to Orlando example I gave earlier, they both cost 25,000 points, but in terms of the monetary value these redemptions give you are very, very different. So what that means is if you have a limited number of points and you don't see that redeeming for this redemption has enough value, you might want to just pay cash and use your points for a bigger redemption instead. This rule is for only the most advanced players looking to take their game to the next level. Now, adding on all of the things we just talked about, this next rule pretty much builds on the foundation. So using the same example, the Vancouver to Toronto route, you can add 1 stopover at no extra cost. Those that don't know, a stopover is basically a stop on the way to another city in another city in which you are able to stay for longer than 24 hours, or in this case, you're able to stay as long as you like. Remember, you can book a round trip from Vancouver to Toronto for 25,000 points? Well, for the same 25,000 points, you're able to book a trip from Vancouver to Toronto, stay as long as you like. From Toronto to Montreal, again, stay as long as you like. And then from Montreal back to Vancouver for the same 25,000 points. This is where Aeroplan as a program truly shines, especially when you're booking for an international flight. You're able to visit 2 places at the price of 1, especially when you fly business class. You're able to fly 1 extra business class flight at no extra cost, and obviously visiting 2 cities, again at the price of 1. With a stopover, you may also choose to book an open jaw, but most of the time you're not going to book an open jaw because you can either choose between 1 stopover or 1 open jaw on your itinerary with the new changes to the program. Those that are confused, an open jaw is basically the shape of the itinerary. So instead of a triangle flying from one city to the next and back, you basically have a open jaw in your itinerary where you're responsible to find your own transportation from one city to the next, and an open jaw could take shape in 2 shapes. It could either look like this or look like this, and right off the bat I'm able to think of some niche ways where you can benefit from an open jaw. For example, if you live in Vancouver, you may book this itinerary, so it's gonna look like this. So from Vancouver, you're going to book a trip to Calgary, and then you're going to book your second flight from Kelowna back to Vancouver. So what this trip is going to give you is you can fly to Calgary, you can explore the city, and then get a one-way rental car service, drive yourself back to Kelowna, and on the way back you can visit Banff and then Okanagan Lake in Kelowna, and then you can fly back to Vancouver. and all of this at a low cost of 15,000 Aeroplan miles. Or if you want to go east, of course, you can book a trip from Vancouver to Toronto, explore Toronto, and then fly from Toronto back to Calgary, make the same one-way rental car. This time you're gonna visit also Banff and Kelowna on the way back, and then on your drive back to Vancouver. Visiting 4 different places at the price of 1. Pretty damn good. If you want to spice things up, you can also book another trip within this trip. So remember how you can stay as long as you like during your stopover? Well, this is what you're gonna take advantage of. You're gonna book another flight from Toronto to Montreal, Montreal to Quebec City back to Toronto. So with this, you're able to visit 6 places at a low cost of 40,000 Aeroplan miles, and you can easily earn this with a single sign-up bonus of the American Express Business Gold Card and transferring it over with a 1-to-1 ratio. With this trip we built together, it really got you thinking, and obviously when international travel reopens, you're able to visit multiple countries with the cost of 1 with the stopover and open jaw feature. You really want to push the program to its absolute limits, you're able to book small layovers for less than 24 hours on the way to your destinations. So with this, you're able to, for example, drop by and have lunch with a friend, or see small glimpses of cities or even countries that you can decide whether or not you want to visit again in the future. You do book these kinds of flights, these kind of flights can be extremely hard to find, so you may have to do a lot of research if you want to book something like this, and you are able to fit up to 16 flights on one single itinerary. So hypothetically, if you're able to find these flights, you're able to fly 16 times, and obviously following these rules, you're not gonna pay any extra money. And if you book the whole flight in, say, business or first class, you're getting amazing value over here. If you're going to be doing these kinds of bookings, I wasn't going to mention this, but might as well mention it really quickly. You're going to run into potentially an issue called MPM, otherwise known as maximum permitted mileage. So what this means is between 2 city pairs, Aeroplan sets a set mileage that you're able to fly between these city pairs. So if you're doing like 16 flights, I have a feeling you're going to be cutting it close. So do your own research on that. I know they don't really publicly release these numbers, but you can do your own various research online, and you're able to kind of find what other people are able to book and what has been declined in the past. But if you're booking like a simpler trip, you shouldn't be worrying about these. These kinds of customizations, the possibilities are limitless, but you do have to call in Aeroplan to book something like this. You can't just do it online, but with a trip like this, it's gonna be well worth it. That's just the beginning of the points and miles journey. There's so much to learn in terms of using your points to redeem, and there's so many ways to redeem, especially if you have American Express points. You have the option to transfer them into Aeroplan and also other programs like British Airways avios, and with other programs in the game, the possibilities are limitless. Probably noticed by now, in terms of points and miles, there's so much to learn, and it's impossible to cover all the sweet spots in just one video. Comment down below what you guys want to talk about next, whether it's how to earn more types of this type of point or how to redeem this kind of point. So let me know what you guys think, and as always, make sure you hit like to support the channel and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this one coming out every single week. I really hope you guys learned something today, or at least find it entertaining. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.